Hello everyone and welcome to another foiling tutorial. If you've noticed lately, I've absolutely been in love with foiling and I'm trying to bring you the most techniques that I can within the upcoming videos. In this video I'm going to show you quite a few different techniques to make this card from start to finish. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and get started. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go right into the Cricut design space and we want to find an image that has multiple layers. I'm typing in summer here because I would like to have an image to make kind of a fun summer card for obviously this current season. And once I type in summer, you'll see that I find an image that has multiple layers here, and I go ahead and I insert the image. Now, once the image is displayed, you'll see that there are three different layers here. There is a top layer, a middle layer, and a bottom layer. What I'm going to do here is I'm just going to resize it to what I need for my card, which is a 5x7. And then what I'm going to do is once I figure out exactly what that right size is, I'm going to go over to our layers panel and I'm going to select ungroup down at the bottom here. By ungrouping, I'm able to actually separate those layers to see exactly what I want to use for the different layer and for the actual foiling technique. I decide here that I like the summer love on top of that background layer, and that's what I'm going to use. So I'll just delete this layer, and then I want to take this layer and I want to make it black. The reason that I'm making it black now is because when I flatten it, if it stays that yellow color, I am not going to get a true very dark toner coming from my laser printer. And I actually made that mistake, and that's how I found out that we do have to change it to that dark color. So now I'm just positioning it on top of that back layer just to make sure that it is going to fit exactly the way that I want it, and it will. So we're going to go ahead and hit print and go. And as you'll see here, it's just loading up because I had a previous project. I actually did this project obviously before, and you can see it's going to look like a big dark blob, but that's just the bleed line. Don't worry. Hit print and go, and then we're good to go. So we're going to go over here, and I'm going to jump back to that in a moment here. You'll see it on the mat, but first we're going to take our Martha Stewart scoreboard. I did show this in the previous video, and I want to go ahead and score this card down to a 5x7. You'll see here that I actually score in the wrong spot. So I go one groove over. It's kind of hard to see because I'm not right on top of the card. So I just go one groove over, fold it over, and I'm going to go ahead and uh, bone fold that down. And you won't even know that that fold happened because it's going to be covered by our top card layer. So now we're moving along to the top card layer. I just chose a pattern paper that I liked, and we're going to be using a stencil here from Mod Podge. As you know from my previous video, I love stencils that are self-adhesive. This is self-adhesive and it also cleans up very well. So this is one of my favorite new stencils that I'm using currently. This stencil is actually made from mason jars, so I found it in the Mod Podge section of the craft store and just thought that I really liked the pattern. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to actually use some Tim Holtz Distress ink. This is in tumbled glass, and I showed you that piece of paper there because we're going to use that further on in the project, and I wanted to make sure that that matched the color. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out some Ranger texture paste, and I wanted to show you guys this today because I did mention it in a previous video, and my number one rule of thumb with what I show you and what I do with crafting and kind of the way it's always been is I will never suggest a product to you, and I will never ever say that you need to go and purchase a product, or I will never promote a product unless I've tried the product myself, and that will always be my promise to you. So here we are using the texture paste so I can show you. We're just mixing together that color, and we mix it together with that distress ink. And now you can see I just placed a piece of tape down there below. This tape is actually from Target. It's in their new craft section. It's paper tape. I love it, just like Post-it tape, but you get 6 rolls for pretty much the price of one with the Post-it tape, so it was a good find for me. Now all we're going to do here is take that texture paste, and we're just going to smear it on top of the stencil just like we're icing a cake. You're going to smear that all over the stencil, making sure that you lift up any that is kind of gathering and not going into the stencil. And then once we're finished with that, we're going to go ahead and peel up that tape. I had to get the side of the stencil up a little bit before I could peel the tape off. And then we're going to actually go ahead and peel the stencil off. And as you'll see, we have an amazing impression from that stencil. I just love these self-adhesive stencils. They stick down your card topper here, as well as they hold very well onto your mat. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, I pulled up here it's the mat that we cut out, and as you can see there, that's the print then cut with the toner. And I thought it was important for you to see this because that's what it's going to look like. You saw that big dark blob, and this is what it turned into because it printed out just with the toner, and then it cut around the areas that were originally going to be cut out of paper, but it just filled in those areas with toner because we did a print then cut. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to very delicately lift up these pieces because it is a very delicate cut. And I actually attempted to lift it up the first time and kind of messed up that R a little bit in summer. So I had to do a little bit of repair before I brought the mat actually over to pull this all up and off. So you'll see here that I'm just very delicately pulling up that image, or that cut, excuse me, and I'm pulling it up just with the Tim Holtz craft pick. I love the craft pick, I use it all the time. And then we're going to just move this mat out of the way, and you'll be able to see the actual what the actual image kind of looks like on a surface where it's not kind of busy like the background of the mat. So you can see now we have a perfect die cut that you would spend tons of money on if you were purchasing it, you know, already pre-cut and pre-tonered, and now we don't have to have a full sheet of toner. We can literally just print then cut, and we have that toner there ready and cut out with the print then cut feature. So now we're going to take the deco foil. I'm using deco foil today because, as I said in the previous video, the mink just did not mink foil just did not come out for me that well. So we're going to go ahead and put that in a cover sheet. And this cover sheet is just an old piece of, I believe, just scrapbook paper that I use here. And there's nothing special about it. I don't want you to think that the inside color has anything to do with it. It is literally just because of the pattern on the paper. We're going to place that foil on top, and then we're going to go ahead and we are going to put that through the laminator. And you'll see that it's going to come out of the laminator now, and we're ready to go ahead onto our next step. So the next step that we are going to go ahead and work on here is I'm going to use a little bit of the Tim Holtz Distress ink in the colors of Faded Jeans and Tumbled Glass, and we're just going to do a little bit of inking around the pieces. But first, let's go ahead and pull that off for the reveal of the foil, and it really just turns out beautifully. As you can see here, I'm just going to lift it off of the cover sheet, and it's really awesome. I was very, very excited whenever I pulled it off and saw how wonderful that foil stuck onto all of the edges. And you'll actually see that it really didn't, I mean, there wasn't any kind of overhang in any of the areas, and it worked out very, very well. So next, like I said, I'm going to take that Tim Holtz Distress ink. Oops, we're not. We're going to try this out and make sure that it fits on top first. I wanted to kind of just take a look and see what it would look like once it was layered on top. Now we're going to take our Distress ink, and I'm just actually taking that little round tool there. I call it the kind of smushing tool, or the inking tool, and we're just going to go around the edges of our piece here, and you'll see that the ink is going to be very heavy on the edges, and I'm just going in a swirling motion all around, and that ink is going to actually create for us, it's going to be like an ombre of a lighter in the center and darker on the outside, and you'll see kind of what that is once it's finished up. And you can see that up in the upper left hand corner there. I'm doing the exact same thing with our long piece of paper that's going to go on the bottom of the card. And this piece is actually going to be done with the Tumbled Glass as opposed to the Faded Jeans, just because it matched the paper a little bit better. Now I'm just finishing up that last piece, so we are ready to go ahead and assemble our card. Just cleaned off the craft mat there a little bit, didn't want to get any ink on the card. And now I'm going to set down that heart, and you can see really that look of the fade there. I really like a lot of distress in my cards. As you've seen, this is a little bit of a cleaner card that I've made, but I really do still enjoy the clean look, as long as there's a little bit of distress in it and a little bit of the kind of thrown together look. So now you can really see the shine on that die cut, and I'm going to place that on top of the heart. I just used a little bit of the Zig two-way glue to adhere that. I really like the Zig two-way glue because it starts blue, you put it on, and then it becomes clear, and it is still very adhesive at that point. So you can just put it right on top. It's not going to dry super quick. It's really, really cool. So now I'm just going to take a little bit of ATG, put that on the front of our card base that we made earlier, and we're going to place that yellow card base on top. The yellow, the yellow layering, card layer on top. And the base layer is just a very simple yellow, two-tone yellow that is on top of there. And I must say that the texture paste does dry very quickly. You see me patting it there. This is actually in almost real time that the texture paste has dried there. So you can't really see the detail at this point of the stenciling, but it does work really well with the card. It kind of looks a little bit hodgepodgey, I guess, from this view. But now I'm just taking that little piece, that little strip of paper that we cut out earlier, and that is 1.5 inches by the width of your card. And then I just did a pennant on the one side just by cutting down the center and cutting two diagonal lines, into the middle. And we're just going to place that on the card, and I do like that again, distressed kind of ombre look, just to give it a little bit more character. Now all we have to do is take our foiled heart there that says Summer Love. We're going to put a little ATG on that as well, and we're just going to place that on the card. And I thought that I was finished at this point, but I knew that I needed a little something extra. So I grabbed, I've been kind of hoarding this Lawn Fawn twine for a long time. I absolutely love their twine. I love the color combinations. I love that it's not like a super loose twine. It's a very hardy twine that ties very well. So I decided that this is the card that I will finally use it on. And so I'm just tying a knot here. And I struggled a little bit with the knot because I couldn't figure out exactly how I wanted it to sit on top of that stencil. So I look here and I do a little cut, and then I move it up a little bit here, and I still don't really like the way that it's sitting. So I finally am able to find a position that I think is good for the twine. And then once I find where I think it should be, I actually realize that I think that those little trundles are a little bit too long. So I adjust it again, and I think that everything is kind of right where it should be on this card, and I just love that foil. So thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely, lovely day. Bye-bye.